La division scolaire Louis Riel réunit une communauté d'écoles sur les terres traditionnelles des Anishinaabe, Inuit et Dakota. Notre division se situe dans la patrie des Métis de la Rivière-Rouge. Nous reconnaissons que le Manitoba abrite également les terres traditionnelles des Anishinaabe et Dene. Nous respectons les traités conclus sur ces terres et reconnaissons les préjudices et les erreurs du passé et du présent. Nous nous engageons à créer des alliances authentiques avec les communautés autochtones dans un esprit de réconciliation et de collaboration. The ongoing development of LRSD's land acknowledgement is guided by our Indigenous Council of Grandmothers and Grandfathers, and we thank them for their generosity and collaboration. In LRSD, the land acknowledgement serves as a reminder to the community of our journey towards truth and reconciliation.
Bonjour Anine, Cindy, Indigenous.
Bonjour Anine, Kelsey Lenahan, Indigenous. Jigo Bapasain Indigenous, Penamutang Nanduanji, Bijou Nanduadem, Miigwedge.
I'm Cindy. I teach grade 1-2 at St. George School, and Kelsey is the Ojibwe language teacher who taught Ojibwe to my students in the previous school year.
My name is Kelsey Lenahan. My spirit name is Woodpecker. I am from Penamutang First Nation, also known as Fairford, and I come from the Lynx clan.
Kelsey being in my classroom teaching my students has been just the most amazing experience for my students and also for me.
I think that it's really important that we get to go into the classrooms, that we are not only teaching our language, but we're also teaching our culture, because the two of them go hand in hand. We can't teach one without teaching the other.
It's really fascinating and amazing to watch my grade 1s and 2s embrace the language and embrace the learning and just be so excited when Kelsey comes into school and comes down the hallway. They're watching and waiting for her.
When I was growing up and going to school, a program like this wasn't available. And the racism that my sisters and I faced going to school was something that we dealt with on an everyday basis. And I'm noticing that the classrooms that I visit, the Indigenous students that are in those classes perk up right away. They're so excited. There's a sense of pride with them. Our language program is primarily a play-based and a land-based program. We come into the classroom always by starting a song in Ojibwe. We do a lot of games with our students. We do a lot of crafts with our students.
They sing the songs with her, they count with her in Ojibwe. They get so involved and embrace everything that she brings into our classroom. And myself, working with Kelsey and teaching with Kelsey has been so incredible.
Bienvenue, welcome au Collège Béliveau. Je m'appelle Véronique Reynolds, je suis métisse. Je suis enseignante bibliothécaire. I'm teacher librarian here at Collège Béliveau. Each high school has an Indigenous Youth Leadership Council for their students. Maintenant, j'aimerais passer la parole à des élèves de ce conseil. Now, students from Collège Béliveau's Indigenous Youth Leadership Council will talk about the council and Indigenous education in our school.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Keely et je suis métisse. It is important to me to be a part of Indigenous youth leadership because it helps me connect with my culture. Having an opportunity to participate in these activities has also helped my family connect with our Métis roots. Sometimes I feel torn between attending Indigenous youth leadership gatherings and attending my normal classes to stay on top of my work. It would be helpful if teachers could recognize the importance of these outings. I appreciate being able to meet other Indigenous students in a safe environment that encourages us to be ourselves, especially since a lot of us do not have the chance to do so outside of school.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Ella et je suis métisse. As a student, it's important to have courses such as Indigenous Studies that allow for more conversations and opportunities to be exposed to current events and issues relating to Indigenous perspectives. And it is important for staff to take on the responsibility and the work to educate students about these Indigenous perspectives rather than putting it on us, as this can put a lot of pressure on us.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Emerald et je suis Anishinaabe. I've been able to participate in many activities that have allowed me to learn more about my culture.
As a staff, we've been working on increasing our awareness and education around Indigenous education and land-based learning. This has been part of our school plan for the last couple of years, and they expressed a need and an interest to know more, to increase education, to be able to better work with students. What we did last year was work on the reason behind the land acknowledgement, the reason behind September 30th, the importance of it, and bringing reconciliation to life in our building with staff and with our students.
Here at DCI, we are creating a space where Indigenous students and staff can feel welcome, safe, and heard. We are dismantling and destigmatizing stereotypes around and about Indigenous people. Some of the ways that we are doing that is by holding various events throughout the school year that both Indigenous and non-Indigenous students and staff can attend, such as winter solstice, spring equinox, summer solstice. We hold monthly cultural gatherings with a knowledge keeper and prominent Indigenous professionals from our community of Winnipeg. We also do smudging on the daily with our students and staff. We hold events for Truth and Reconciliation Week, Orange Shirt Day, both the provincial and the national days of awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, two-spirited and gender diverse people.
Here at Dakota, we like to foster a sense of belonging. We get to know our students on a more personal level so they can get to know themselves better and find how they can contribute into our community. We have an Indigenous student group that ranges from the grades of 9 to 12, but within our activities, we like to break down those grade barriers and just allow students to be contributing members of our community here.
Being asked to join the Indigenous leadership last year was such an honor because it felt like I was brought closer to my Indigenous peers here at school. Being in the leadership made it feel like my concerns were being heard, and it made a positive impact for the environment and the people around me.
Coming into Dakota, I wasn't aware about a lot of things in my culture, but when I was introduced to the ECHO program, I became a lot more aware of like the medicine, and how to use the medicine, how like different ceremonies and what you do in different ceremonies and the meanings. And I came there was more light shed on Indigenous issues.
ECHO is like a home to me. Like I feel safe, and like coming here, I can sit here, and I feel safe. Like I can even sit here when classes are going, and I just sit here and do my work. It's just safe.
Bonjour, my name is Holly Saiz. I'm a teacher here at ACAL Van Bellingham. I've had the opportunity to work at a few schools in the Louis Riel School Division, and at each one I've tried really hard to incorporate Indigenous education into all the subject areas. This is true for science and mathematics. And when we talk about Indigenous education and land-based learning, to me they're the same thing. So Indigenous people, their culture, their knowledge would be nothing without the connection to the land. And that's really important to incorporate into teaching. It also helps the kids kind of get a well-rounded kind of view of education where it's not just sitting in a classroom with a pencil and a paper. We go outside, we do a lot of things. And one example of land-based education that I want to bring up that I had the opportunity to do at École Henri Bergeron was we set up a teepee for Indigenous Peoples Day. And so when we set up a teepee, it's not just putting sticks in the ground, there's purpose, there's intention that goes to it. And there's 13 poles of the teepee. And so I had the opportunity to work with Teepee Joe. I got the opportunity to teach actually every single class in the school, and we really catered it to each different grade level. So for example, in grade 5, when you talk about weather and science, we talked about how the teepee poles actually help keep you dry inside because the water kind of drips down the poles of the teepee. We talked about where, which way the door faces and why, and there's culture that goes in there too. And each pole of the teepee actually has its own value or virtue that goes with it, and it's kind of explains how Indigenous people want to live together. And so with the teepee teaching as well, it's not just putting sticks there, there's an intention that goes in it. So whenever Indigenous people take anything from the earth, there's always this understanding of reciprocity where you don't take anything without giving anything back. So when we go medicine picking, we'll often offer tobacco, or we'll put tobacco where those poles are actually going to go into the ground. So Indigenous education, land-based learning, to me, they're the same thing.
So we actually don't have a word for goodbye in our language. We say gigawabamin minowa, gigawabamin minowa, which means I will see you again. Get you miigwech, thank you very much.